Sophia Grace. How you doing, girl?
I'm good, thanks. And by the way, thanks for the invite.
Of course.
And how are you?
It's been a rough night, but I am so excited to see you.
Well, just like my song Girl in the Mirror says, every setback is just a setup for something just a little bit better.
Oh, that is such great advice. And speaking of songs, I am so excited for your new single, Hollywood, to come out.
Yeah, I am too, but don't forget about the special thing we have planned.
Oh my gosh, where we have the special guest stars. Who are they again? Lana, Naomi, Sasha Banks, and my twin sister, Brie Bella. But I kind of feel like we're forgetting someone.
You?
Yes, that's right, I know. You know what, just thinking about all this is making me feel so much better, so thank you so much.
Well, I've got your back.
Oh, you are the best. Honestly, don't know what I'd do without you.
Welcome to Review-A SmackDown. I am John Pollock, along with Wai Ting.
Yeah, we made it. Oh my God, I didn't know if this was gonna happen today. Didn't know if I'd make it. Didn't know if I'd be alive right now.
It's been a very hectic day. This is the end of it for us. Sitting down to chat about SmackDown. I can't even remember what happened on SmackDown. This is going to be a thorough review.
Yeah, so we apologize for a slight delay.
No.
I don't really apologize, no. But,
we're doing the show.
Yeah, but it's UFC week in Toronto, UFC 206.
Yes, today was the open workouts at the beautiful Massey Hall. Have you ever seen any shows?
Yeah, I have.
At concerts there? Mm-hmm. I've only been there to see Dave Chappelle, and that was a long time ago.
I've seen The National.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know you listened to The National.
I didn't really.
Oh, you don't?
No, my girlfriend at the time did.
Oh, okay.
I was just there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it was nice.
It's a big venue.
It was a lot nicer listening to music there than to see men stretch. And,
that's a lie, because that music was horrific.
Oh, God.
I heard a dubstep version of Sandstorm, and I thought my eardrums were going to meet in the middle of my head and explode.
Well, this is assuming that the original Sandstorm is a good song.
Don't you dare desecrate the original Darude hit.
I mean, a dubstep version of Sandstorm. That's just like layering, sugar on top of more sugar, isn't it?
Don't put it into the same realm of a dubstep remix.
Anyway,
some of this music
if anyone's ever been to a UFC open workout or a weigh-in or any type of UFC event during a fight week, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They got the same DJ. I don't even think they have the DJ. It's just a mix that they record now.
Yeah, there was no DJ.
And it's the worst. Like every stereotype you would have of what a typical MMA fan would listen to, this is that type of mix.
It's the musical version of an Affliction shirt.
God, the fucking,
Can't stop. Can't stop.
I'd be cool with, some of the original versions of those songs, but, they had to have, the shittiest club mixes.
Why couldn't they play The National? That would be nice music to watch the open workouts
dude,
with.
Instead we have to have, a fucking Drowning Pool remix.
It's always a remix. It's never the original.
Yeah, a bunch of Papa Roach. Just
think how effective it would be if I ever was going to do an open workout. You know what theme I'd want to stand out? I would come out, I'd do my stretching, and then I'd do my sparring drills to Enya. Only Time. Memorable that would be.
They should get to choose their own music
of course
for these open workouts. Anyway, so, it's bad, but imagine having to stand there right next to the stage the entire time next to a fucking speaker. And that's basically what, every fight week for us, for one of these things.
Yeah, and I am going to complain about it.
Yeah.
Before anyone says this. Before we get into SmackDown, we're going to keep the chit-chat to a minimum today, but massive news just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump, the president-elect, chooses Linda McMahon to head the Small Business Administration, according to transition officials. So Linda McMahon has secured a spot in the Donald Trump cabinet. Who had that sentence in their office pool on December 31st last year? President-elect Donald Trump nominates Linda McMahon to cabinet spot.
I would have said, I don't know, the SmackDown cabinet. I think Donald Trump winning was a shock. I would put this as an even bigger shock. The fact that Linda McMahon... I mean...
once Trump won, you had to believe she was in the mix.
I'm just saying, the fact that Linda McMahon has access to the White House is fucked up to me. It's just so weird. That says more... I have more concern about that than probably a lot of people do about Donald Trump.
No corporate conglomerates. I want a divorce.
Well, what does this say about... just how corrupt their system is, you know? I mean, I don't know. Listen, fine. She's probably a really nice person. I guess she could know something about small businesses.
Don't you remember at Access that one year when we were about to do an interview with someone and there walks in who cuts in line? I was like, who does this person think she is? And then I realized, it's Linda McMahon with her grandchildren.
Yeah, obviously she's...
taking her children to
allowed.
Access.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, as people that work in a small business environment way, cutting the line like that.
Oh, come on, she's the owner.
We'll give her some flack.
But I mean, this is a person who has. What is her qualification? Tell me.
She's an entrepreneur.
Is she?
And her family has donated a lot of money to Donald Trump.
That's no secret.
That's politics. That's politics in a nutshell.
Oh,
what do you think all these...
They're just so blatant. It's just...
you raise campaign funds and then you got to owe these people back. So, Linda McMahon, maybe she's going to do a wonderful job as a small business administrator.
Anyway, I need some subway therapy.
Oh, boy.
That's what I need.
Wow. Well, the Post-it notes are back there if you've got a pen. Let's get into SmackDown. Wai, these Tuesdays are too fucking long.
Yeah.
I started late on Tuesday, and I was like, I'm sitting down to watch. I knew this time it was going to be well over 3 hours. I knew they can't help themselves but make that 205 live show a full hour.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, I don't want to do this next week. I don't want to do this 205 show next week. I think a lot of people listening aren't even watching it on the same day. Like, it's too long of a watch for the common fan. So I think it could exist on its own. I might check it out a day after. But
you know what it feels
this will be
like?
The last time we talk about 205 Live on Review of SmackDown.
It feels already to me like ECW on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, sure. The thing is, like, the wrestling was great on the show, in my opinion.
Great?
Yeah. Trust me. But the fucking crowds take it down a big, big, big notch. Anyway,
I like the main event. We'll get
to that.
Yeah. SmackDown was in Houston, Texas, which is notable because that is where they are going to be running next Survivor Series. They'll do they'll do TakeOver, Survivor Series, Raw, and SmackDown 4 straight nights in this arena. So this way was just conditioning them for what they have in store next year. And Survivor Series weekend next week, to me, that's the big test of those 4 nights. Because Survivor Series is not an event that I foresee people traveling for, at least in large numbers.
They'd have to announce a big main event. I mean, one that they probably wouldn't know right now.
I think you have to, because that's asking a lot of people in one specific market to come out 4 straight nights. And the Toyota Center is a pretty big venue. They recap TLC, and then we're promoting AJ Styles and James Ellsworth for the title tonight. AJ comes out, and he's wearing a walking boot, and he wants to address the elephant in the room, and he shows an image from TLC of his tights with a hole in the ass.
Oh, was he specifically pointing attention to that?
Yes.
Oh, he was.
Right? He was then joking, saying, well, we're not talking about this walking boot. I meant the tights that tore on my...
He didn't... Did he say it? Did he say tights or... Anyway.
I don't think he specifically called it out, but that was the shot he...
Right, yeah. I guess it felt a little flat to me. I wasn't really sure what he was going for it, but that makes sense.
Do you think there was too much attention to his torn tights on Sunday?
I didn't think it worked at all. It didn't work for me at all here because I was confused until you brought it up right now. But I thought in Talking Smack it was kind of worth it.
Ellsworth comes out and asks if AJ is just trying to get out of their match tonight, and perhaps Daniel Bryan is protecting him, and says that he has Styles' number and he's ducking him. This coming after AJ explained, due to his ankle injury, that he is not medically cleared to face Ellsworth tonight. Styles then jokes that James Ellsworth is drinking his own gin and tonic, which sounds disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
A gin and tonic.
Yeah. He's got his neck brace off. He took it off on Talking Smack at the pay-per-view, right?
I hated that.
Of course. You and I talked about last week. Oh, he might be out till the Rumble. He might be out. What a great-looking spot. And certainly, he will not even return on Sunday.
He not only got involved physically, but the way he took it off on Talking Smack was like, this was a bullshit injury.
It was like he was faking it.
You wasted this Super Styles clash on nothing. And to me, I bet that idea wasn't even... They just did it on Tuesday and then came up with their way to get out of Sunday.
I assume that they would have done that match tonight.
I'm sure they would have.
And so I guess he needed to show that he was ready for it. But
that's very short-sighted when you did such a big angle 7 days ago.
Yeah, I feel like
you wasted that spot.
Yeah, I agree.
There didn't need to be any physicality because in the end, Ellsworth was the one helping Styles on Sunday. There was no need for that injury. There's no repercussions to it. It was an inconvenience, this injury that you wasted an angle on last week. So Dean comes out. He just immediately comes into the ring and gives Ellsworth the dirty deeds, and he left. And that was our first segment of the night. We return, and the little signature for the Wyatts plays, but then it stops, and Greg Hamilton is in the ring, and it's an overhead shot of the arena as he announces the next match for the tag titles. And then there's this awkward silence, so they clearly played this little Wyatts bit too early. Yeah. And then it played, which is the new theme they started using on Sunday, where it's like a poor mashup of Randy Orton's themes minus Motorhead.
It was really just like the first bit of Randy's and then
Babyface theme into his new one.
What?
The first thing off is like the opening to that old theme he had.
What's his current theme? His current theme is voices, right?
Yeah, it goes into that.
Oh, I thought it was just that.
The first piece, it's like a second or two.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It's just like a little chopped up, like, collage of Orton things. But then it went into the Wyatts entrance.
And we had Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton against Heath Slater and Rhino for the tag titles. Rhino was tagged in, and Bray just rolled to the floor, avoiding a gore. They went through a commercial. Bray was in control for a while, hit a senton. Rhino then tagged in Slater, who fired up on Orton, hit a sidekick, a reverse neck breaker, and got a 2 count. And then as he's paying attention to Bray on the floor, he turns around into a power slam. Rhino makes the save. Then Bray knees Rhino from the apron and sends Rhino to the floor. And Bray goes for the Sister Abigail to Heath, but tags Orton in first. So he swings Heath up from the Sister Abigail position into an RKO for the win. And the Wyatts pose with the titles in the ring as Luke Harper lifts up both of the titles for their Wyatt family portrait.
That's the double T move, is RKO with a kiss. RKO with a kiss. Hey, so like I've heard people talk about like them teasing the tension between Harper and Orton.
Well, they did it last week where they were like exchanging these looks.
Yeah.
But then on Sunday, it was Harper who ended up saving Randy. And on tonight's show,
there's nothing to that, like playing to that on this show at all.
They've stolen Sasha, Naomi, and Tamina's gimmick.
What?
Unity.
Oh.
Remember that?
Nope.
They had the little hand thing.
I forgot about that. So they all appear to be on the same page.
They do, for now. Dasha then interviewed Kalisto backstage.
Was that who this girl was?
I'm guessing.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure. I am not sure it was Dasha. It could have been that girl, Andrea DeMarco. I seriously can't tell the two apart.
Yeah, I can't either.
For the life of me cannot. So I think it was Dasha. And I assumed all of these women were Dasha.
Okay. How about like a short, like we'll get one of these girls to cut their hair short? Or is that the idea, is to have them all look interchangeable?
You're supposed to be confused. I know who Charlie Caruso is.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah.
I can tell her apart. Yeah. But Dasha and Andrea, not a chance. Not a prayer.
I feel like there's another one.
They're tougher for me to tell apart than even who would be two that were really...
the Bella twins.
Nah, the Bellas, we've had this argument.
I could tell them apart now.
Now you can.
Yeah. Hey, so who's the girl on the Canadian the Canadian interstitials?
Oh, that's the girl. Drawing a blank. I know who you're talking about. The one who used to.
Anyway, that's another one.
Yes. So anyway, Carmella comes to the ring. Oh, sorry, Kalisto. Our interview here. He's got a rematch with Baron Corbin tonight, and he feels like he's been in a car wreck after the chairs match. and he has a speed advantage over Baron Corbin, and he says speed kills.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's fast, and that's why he could.
It's funny that he used the term car wreck. Oh, shit. So now it's bothering me, the girl's name, because I know it.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Yeah, but he's talking about being in a car wreck and then speed kills. So it's almost contradictory. It would be speed could cause a car wreck. Carmella comes to the ring and repeats that it was Natalya who attacked Nikki at the Survivor Series and says how Natalya has been bragging about pulling a Tanya Harding.
Kathy Kelly.
Kathy Kelly. That's her name. And yes, so we have a Tanya Harding reference in 2016.
I feel like that's one of those that, stands the test of time.
The test of time?
I
Do
think
people
so.
know who Nancy Kerrigan is?
I mean, people above the age of, I'd say maybe, I think like Braden would know Nancy Kerrigan.
I would bet you $5 Braden doesn't know who Nancy Kerrigan
I'm gonna
is.
text Braden.
Give him a text. Ask him, just say, hey, what's going on with Nancy Kerrigan? And I guarantee you his reply will be who?
What's up with Nancy Kerrigan?
This is going to be fun because...
All right, I just did it. I just texted him. Who are you texting? This is great radio, by the way. We're both just on our phones texting.
I've got an interview tomorrow with Tanya Harding.
He's probably... yeah.
5 exclamation points.
Who are you sending that to?
Braden.
To see if he puts
He's not even
them
going to
together.
realize these two. Or if he does, he's really going to think less of us.
He's gonna Google either person, which is probably what the average viewer would do hearing a Nancy Kerrigan reference on SmackDown.
This was a Tanya Harding reference.
Oh, okay.
So we got the perpetrator. And, for those unfamiliar, Tanya Harding...
No, you're actually going to explain it?
I seriously think there's people listening
Oh my
that don't know
God.
this story.
Oh.
Prior to the 94 Olympic Games in Lillehammer, Norway, there was a hit put out on Nancy Kerrigan, and she was attacked.
Would you like to explain O.J. Simpson as well?
No, come
Joe
on.
Carter.
Tanya Harding and O.J. Simpson are worlds apart in terms of...
Both are sports figures involved in the scandal. I don't think so.
Is ESPN going to do a 10-hour feature on Tanya Harding next year?
Yeah.
They did one on O.J. Simpson.
I'm sure they've done something on Tanya Harding.
Yeah, in
They've done-
1995.
No, they've
maybe.
done. I'm sure they've done. What is it? 40 thing. Oh shit! Braden responds.
What did he say?
What?
Oh, he said the same thing to me.
Wait a second. So maybe.
Do you write it W-A-T?
Yeah. Do you know who that is? Let me clarify.
Do you know who that is?
Oh, this is a terrible show.
He's going to really enjoy this, I feel.
We're probably waking him up from his
Whatever.
sleep.
Okay, so the Tanya Harding thing. And she says that Natalya attacked Nikki because Natalya's spotlight has been stolen by Nikki ever since Total Divas began. And tells the fans to shut up when they start chanting, "How you doing?" at Carmella, and calls Natalya a deceiving con artist.
Sorry, Braden responds. Ice skater or some shit? So yeah, he has an idea.
Let's see if he's copy and pasting his answers here.
Anyway.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah. So, Carmella...
Okay.
What?
I do not.
oh my God.
What is going on?
Oh, I guess you're right. Shit.
Listen to podcast tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So there you go. John Pollock is right.
Yeah. Yeah, Carmella, I think, she sounds good. When she's just speaking as her own voice, her accent still comes in and out. I feel like she should just drop that accent. It's too much to ask of her to be able to come out, cut a promo, and do it in an accent that's not really natural to the way you speak.
Yeah, she was, this was,
Man,
I didn't think.
This crowd whatted a lot. Did the what thing the entire time. And I thought Carmella handled it well, just kind of ignoring it, doing her best too. And I feel like Man, I feel like the what chant is just... I guess anybody who listens to this show has reached the level of kind of being sick. But I feel like anybody who does the what chant in 2016, I hope you have a bad day.
Whoa.
That's my threat.
Yeah. It's amazing that thing is now 15 years old.
It's almost as old as Nancy Kerrigan. We got to wait till...
Not that old.
We got to wait till but that thing's going to live forever.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it's there for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what has not really lasted all that long? It was there at the ROH show, but much more in shorter supply is that 10 chant.
Oh, yeah. That's a local thing.
Carmella and Natalya were supposed to have a match, and Natalya just ran to the ring, took her down, and they fought around. Carmella slapped her, and then Natalya chased her to the back. They get to the backstage area, and Natalya runs into Nikki. And Natalya is stumbling over her words, denies attacking her. She's out of breath from running, and Nikki just stands there and walks off without saying anything.
So then it's not Natalya.
When Carmella outed Natalya on Sunday, I thought they're definitely going with someone else because that couldn't be how simplistic they make this reveal.
Right.
I think everyone assumes it was Natalya.
So probably,
it made the most sense to be Natalya, but I feel it is going to be someone else, and that's going to be...
It won't be Natalya. It won't be Carmella. Can't be.
Maybe it'll be a 13-year-old singer. That's still to come.
13-year-old. Oh, man. Who else could it be, though?
Brie. No, she can't.
Whoa. Oh, that would be great. No, but she's not coming back.
Not right now. Yeah. I don't see the need to turn any more women on SmackDown. You're kind of short on baby faces. You got...
Maybe it's Naomi or something.
I guess so. Naomi is such a better baby face.
She's not doing anything, though.
You're right. Yeah. Baron Corbin is interviewed by, presumably, Dasha, and admits that Kalisto is fast, but he's the big man, and Kalisto is a mosquito, and says they're fast, they buzz around, but then when they land on him, splat.
Yeah, I thought he was really good on Talking Smack after the pay-per-view, but for some reason, he's not nearly as good on these pre-rehearsed interview segments. And maybe it's because they just come across all too memorized and rehearsed versus on Talking Smack where he really feels like he's just talking as himself. There's only a way to combine the two.
You know what Baron Corbin and some of these other guys need to do? They need to start watching more of our UFC 206 Fight Week videos and see how fighters, answer questions in a real way.
Or just watch SportsCenter and you can see...
No, you should watch my interviews every fight week and realize that these guys can sound like human beings even when they're asked questions that maybe are not full of direction. Unlike mine. Mine always have a point to them.
The thing is, though, you don't always get an athlete with a good personality.
But you don't need to have it. To me, it's not even that. Like, these guys, by definition of their job, should have the personality part down.
Yeah.
That should be there. And we've seen it in other ways.
Yeah.
And it's more so, to me, whether you believe it's the scripting, if they are memorizing answers.
Clearly, this was.
I think some of these guys need to honestly take some ownership as well. That, yes, you are given a script. You are told this is your answer. You're not going to get fired if you deviate and make this your own. Take some chances.
Right. I think, though, they have to stick to a length, a duration that they can only talk about.
That's fine. If you know you've got 30 seconds, you can deviate a little. Take a chance. The worst you're going to do is producer's going to say, hey, that wasn't on the script.
Right.
What's really going to happen?
Well, that's pretty bad if you're Baron Corbin.
Well, this is pretty bad, too, when you have a guy that is clearly, in one show, he's a really interesting heel.
Yeah.
And on another, he's a total forgettable character.
He's pretty bland, yeah.
He's very bland on SmackDown and very not bland on Talking Smack. So, take some chances is my advice. The Ascension and the Hype Bros were next. Both had insert promos, which could just repeat my rant right here. But they did not take any chances here.
The Ascension went on this thing about how we have new tag team champions, and it's the reign of darkness or something. So they're claiming like they're kind of piggybacking off of the Wyatts' success.
Yes, and they call the Hype Bros dinosaurs, and they are the comets that will rise.
Oh my.
The Hype Bros are going to waste these guys and then set their sights on the tag titles. Victor knocked Mojo off the apron, and then the Ascension had the advantage on Ryder. Hot tag to Mojo, big clothesline, pair of splashes to Victor, and then a full Nelson slam as Connor made the save. Victor got a schoolboy. They got up, hit the Hype Rider, and the Hype Bros won in 3:28. So the Comets did not rise here as the dinosaurs beat the
Comets.
The Comets.
Yeah, I thought it was a very, very much a formulaic house show match. I don't really sense the Hype Bros getting the next title opportunity, so...
Oh, can you imagine that being a program for
the
Orton and Bray?
And the Hype Bros? Oh, man.
Like, outside of American Alpha, is there one team on SmackDown that you are looking forward to Wyatt and Orton having a lengthier program with?
Yeah, I mean, the Usos aren't going to get that spot. Like a babyface team?
What have happened to the Usos?
I don't know. Good question.
They weren't there on the SmackDown pay-per-view. They weren't on this show.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm enjoying the Usos, but I barely see them.
I guess they'll just get destroyed by the Wyatts, I suppose, the Hype Bros.
Probably. That's at best a television match. Miz TV was next. Miz and Maurice came out to start the segment and said that no one had a lower low at TLC than their guest, and they bring out Dean Ambrose, who comes out, sits down. He says he isn't angry. You've never seen him angry. And says he was surprised Ellsworth did this after all he did for him. Miz says, well, you treated Ellsworth like a puppet, and he finally fought back. And he suggests that Dean face James Ellsworth tonight. And then Ambrose, after saying, you've never seen me upset, said, you're making me upset to The Miz. So that was quite the achievement in just moments here by The Miz. And Miz hid behind Maurice, and Miz has an award to give Dean. It's the Miz Participation Award. And it has a picture of a ribbon that reads, you tried, on it. And fans chant, you deserve it at Dean, who threatens to shove it down Miz's throat. Daniel Bryan comes out and says Ambrose cannot attack Miz right now because they're going to have a match tonight, and then makes it an Intercontinental title match. And Wai, this crowd in Houston, I have never heard a crowd in recent memory so excited that their city was going to house an Intercontinental title defense by The Miz. They were so happy at this announcement of an IC title match in their hometown, and they get to see it.
They weren't expecting it, I guess.
Well, if anything, they were expecting a WWE title match.
With AJ?
Yeah,
that's true.
They were promoting that.
Yeah. I thought this was a funny segment. I love the participation award.
Miz should make this a regular. This participation award.
Yeah, they should sell these.
Kalisto and Baron Corbin in a rematch from Sunday. There was a shoulder tackle by Corbin and then sent Kalisto to the floor. He broke the count fighting back. And then Kalisto pulled down the top rope. Corbin went to the floor and fell with a moonsault off the turnbuckle to the floor. Then there was a springboard tornado DDT off the middle rope. Climbs to the top, misses with a moonsault, landing on his feet, and goes for a tilt-a-whirl. It is countered in midair with an end of days, and Baron wins again at 2:51.
I thought these two, obviously, a very shortened version of their match on Sunday, not nearly as good, but for a 5-minute TV match, I enjoyed it. They were able to carry their very aggressive chemistry with each other, and they tried to tell that speed versus size story, but I do think that these two have good chemistry though. They're kind of like a lighter version of like a Masato Tanaka and Mike Awesome.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
kind of. Man, Baron Corbin looks like Mike Awesome in a way.
Well,
there's some similarities between those two.
You know what? A mullet is. He kind of does have a mullet.
Yeah. I don't know what Kalisto looks like under that mask and what his resemblances are to Masato Tanaka, but he doesn't have scars all over his chest or his forehead that I know of.
No, I wouldn't mind it if these two continued their program, but I think they will. I think they'll have another match. It doesn't seem like they're completely blown off yet.
Well, they may run this one just till Baron has something else, but it feels like Baron has to move on past this.
Well, he was making a big case for getting to the main event on Talking Smack, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they've done the Dolph Ziggler program because that seems like someone that Corbin could move up to next, but that program was done to death this year.
I think Dolph is so cold right now, too. You know, what are you going to do? Have Dolph lose again?
Yeah, I feel Dolph should probably turn at this point, but your big issue is you do not have baby faces. It's a real problem at this point when there's no Cena, Taker isn't a regular. Like, you have to kind of look at these heels and wonder if there's anyone. Is there any heel that stands out that you could turn? I could totally see them eventually turning Baron Corbin at some point, just because even though I don't like that idea for him, I think because of Talking Smack, he's one guy that really, to me, is connecting as a heel.
Because of Talking Smack, but he's not over yet.
Maybe he can be a babyface on SmackDown and a heel on Talking Smack. Could that work?
No, that'd be confusing already.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, you said that these two had good chemistry, so now we're going to have an example of the opposite. Because Nikki Bella is walking backstage and runs into the person that must have initiated more Google searches than any wrestling fan has had in quite some time. Sophia Grace. Oh, Sophia Grace, you say. And Nikki is all depressed about the stuff with Carmella and Natalya, that thankfully this 13-year-old kid is able to cheer her up, and does so by quoting her own song to Nikki's, talking about how every setback is a setup. Huh. I'll remember that the next time.
So if you can get upset at them for making a dated reference, can we be upset at them for making a reference that's too new? Who the fuck is this? Sophia Grace. Who is this?
Sophia Grace is this 13-year-old that's appeared on Ellen, and they've done all these like songs and shit. Let's hear some of this. This is called Morning Routine. Oh God, I'm back at the open workouts. Okay. Does she sing?
Hi everyone!
What?
Sophia Grace here, and today I'm going to be doing a morning routine for you guys, as summer.
This is not even a song.
As it is summer right now in England, and it's really nice and warm outside. I love my alarm off, some posts, and then...
Jesus Christ, she doesn't even...
Are you?
Absolutely.
Is she?
This is just her, like...
She's just a vlogger. Is she an actual singer?
Well, she mentioned a song in this thing.
Go to the YouTube channel.
Okay.
And then go to like video.
Like, it's crazy how much...
Okay. Go back.
Like this thing. Video blog, 1.4 million views.
Okay.
This was...
you know, I've lost interest. I've lost interest. Let's forget this.
Okay. Well, Sophia Grace. Oh, God. Okay. So, Sophia cheers up Nikki. Then Nikki mentions some show. I guess Sophia's having a bunch of the divas on. They high five, and Nikki ends this by saying, "Thanks, Sophia. I don't know what I'd do without you."
She owes her career to Sophia Grace.
You must watch this segment to see how fake
Oh yeah.
this interaction was. Like, Nikki pretending to give a shit what Sophia Grace and her advice was for Nikki Bella. A down in the dumps Nikki Bella.
Nikki came across as so unlikable here because she can't help but play a fake Valley Girl type of female bro. Is essentially how she came across. It was kind of gross.
Yeah, this was something else to watch.
So just in case people are curious, Braden does not know who Sophia Grace is.
Okay. I'm just looking at this. There's also a bonus video on the WWE's YouTube page entitled "Nikki Bella Helps Sophia Grace Create Her Own WWE Entrance."
Oh, great. No more. You're gonna play this?
I'm headed to Gorilla.
Oh, God.
Ramsad. I'm about to show Sophia Grace how to make an entrance here at WWE. And it ain't easy.
Making her way to the ring, accompanied by Nikki Bella.
This is like a Make-A-Wish kid.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sophia Grace.
Oh my god. Okay, enough. Go. Read the comments. I want to read the
I
comments.
bet you they're disabled. I can't imagine they're allowing comments.
Oh, the comments are disabled.
But 4,800 thumbs up, 2,100 thumbs down. Like, oh my god.
Okay.
These are something. Okay. Chad Gable and Tyler Breeze were next. This was set up earlier today when Breezango wrote them a ticket in the locker room. And Gable made fun of Tyler Breeze's dye job. And he was offended. Gable, what have we come to?
I don't know.
Match is set up because of nice dye job. Hey, it's au natural. Let's fight. Could you imagine a street situation, Way? And you getting into a physical altercation with someone because they made fun of your hair color?
I couldn't imagine it, but in a world where...
This isn't like someone threw peanuts at you, for instance.
Yeah, fine. But in a world where, I guess, I'm on the same show as a 6-year-old from YouTube, anything
13.
goes. 13? Whatever. I mean, yeah, whatever. What is there to say? These guys are just kind of fun.
Does Sophia Grace get an appearance at WrestleMania?
She's not that famous.
Does she go into the Hall of Fame next year?
Maybe in 5 years.
When her
She's
real eligibility.
18.
She's got to be old enough to vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Chad Gable and Tyler Breeze. Gable hit a monkey flip and then applied did the Minoru Suzuki armbar on the rope spot. And then a cross body took Breeze over the top to the floor. And then Fandango was supposed to hit Chad Gable on the floor with his board, but he tripped over the camera cord.
Yeah. Poor guy.
He almost spilled right on the floor.
Man.
Oh, and the announcers couldn't help but joke about it.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often.
Yeah, those cords are all over the place.
Yeah.
Gable hit an alphaplex and then a flying clothesline off the top. Fandango then ran into a belly-to-belly by Jordan on the floor, and it ended with an O'Connor roll into a bridging German by Gable for the win. I thought Chad Gable looked very good here. This match.
Sure.
They got about 5 minutes.
I thought it was a bit of an exhibition match for him.
Gable, I mean, I don't see this guy necessarily breaking out as a single star, but I think he would be fantastic, even if they pigeonholed him as a cruiserweight, for instance. But
I think so. I think the two of them are way stronger as a unit.
I do too. It's just they hopefully now with they're the only viable challengers for Orton and Wyatt.
But they're not even over yet.
No,
not to the main roster.
Alexa Bliss comes out posing with the title to this huge pyro display, and then she proclaims, "Ding dong, the witch is champ," and says happy endings don't exist.
Okay.
It's a bit of a risque line.
What?
And says Becky called her a word that rhymes with witch, but this bitch now runs the SmackDown women's division. And Becky comes out and calls her selfish and petulant. Bliss says this isn't the new era, this is her era. And Becky wants her rematch, and she wants it now. Bliss teases getting ready to fight her, but then bails to the floor and leaves with the title.
I thought these two had a good interaction. I liked Becky this week. She was able to display a lot of fire. Not straight fire, but no catchphrases. She's just pissed off and wants a rematch. So I was more than happy with her. But I thought Alexa, on the microphone is where she really stands out and really shines. And, with the title this week, she's proving that she's capable of living up to that spotlight.
Do you not think it was a waste to have Nikki Bella win her match with an excessive use of a fire extinguisher instead of Alexa using it on straight fire Becky Lynch?
Oh, that's true. Maybe, an Inferno match is what we should be building towards, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that should be the rematch. Alexa Bliss.
The first women's Inferno match.
Yeah. They haven't had one.
Yeah.
You're right. The Miz and Dean Ambrose, main event for the Intercontinental title. Ambrose clotheslined him to the floor, but then Miz blocked a suicide dive by once again standing behind Maurice as they go to the break. Come back, and Miz avoids a dirty deeds after coming off the top. There was a magistral cradle by Ambrose for a 2 count. Then he goes for the dirty deeds again, and Miz runs him into the corner and drop kicks the left knee of Ambrose. Then applies the figure 4, gets to the bottom rope, and Ambrose then pulls down the rope, and Miz goes to the floor, and this time Ambrose does hit the suicide dive. Miz hit his short DDT and got a 2 after attempting the skull-crushing finale, and then he went to deliver the yes kicks, which just looked terrible. Ambrose then knocks Miz down from the turnbuckle, and Maurice crotches Dean, who falls off, and Miz hits the running knee that Daniel Bryan was also using, and Ambrose kicks out of that. Ellsworth comes down. He gets booed here. He distracts the referee as Ambrose counters a figure 4 into a small package, getting a 2 count, and then Ambrose is distracted by Ellsworth on the apron, and this allows Miz to sneak up from behind and hit the skull-crushing finale. Gets the win as James Ellsworth runs to the back.
So, James Ellsworth causes Dean the match again.
Because he's aloof.
Well, I thought if that's what you're trying to convey, he did it a lot better this week. I mean, this week he unintentionally caused Dean to lose. Whereas on Sunday, the guy tipped the ladder over, sending Dean Ambrose through the table. So I thought if they're going for aloof, they might have made him do a little too much, a little too blatantly on Sunday.
See, I think with this idea to make him this character that just he makes screw-ups, you need to have the audience that can at least buy it from him. I don't think anyone looks at this guy. I think they very much look at him as a heel now, whether or not that's how they want to position the guy as.
Right.
I don't think there's any sympathy on James Ellsworth. I think everyone wants to see Dean Ambrose just murder this little guy.
Yeah, they want to make him Mr. Bean, but
Mr. Bean was way more sympathetic.
yeah, exactly. Like I think.
Oh, okay, that's what they're aiming for.
They're aiming for Mr. Bean.
Yeah,
but I feel like
instead he's like.
He should, like, Ellsworth should have simply, like, backed into the ladder, sending Dean off or something like that. You know what I mean? Instead, like, the guy, like, attacked him about as you know, blatantly as he could have.
Update from Braden. Ice skating controversy. He figured it out.
He finally learned how to Google.
Yeah. So that was SmackDown. I didn't think too much of this show. You know, they were dealing with AJ's injury. I'm glad they didn't do the match tonight. Yeah. Had he not been hurt, I would have wanted to give this guy a break after that match on Sunday. Yes. And if you really believe that this Ellsworth character is worth giving all of this time and effort to, then save it for a week that could need it. This one, it was just a SmackDown episode to me. There wasn't a whole lot to this
I didn't think it was
show.
a great SmackDown again. That makes 2 weeks of SmackDowns that, you know, haven't really been all that appealing. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the extended duration of it. But I feel like even if this, just judging by this 2-hour show on its own, it hasn't been as good as it was.
I can tell you, my enjoyment of SmackDown is definitely hurt by the fact that I know there's so much more after this show as opposed to a nice, compact 2-hour show, which in the world of television is not that compact. 2 hours is damn long.
Yeah, it is.
And then we're getting an hour and a half after this commercial free.
Yeah. Should we go to Talking Smack first?
Sure. There's more of a natural segue to Talking Smack.
Yeah, and they do just tape Talking Smack right after SmackDown anyway, with no reference.
There's no reference to 205 Live on Talking Smack. So the show starts, and it's just a darkened set with the Wyatts on. So once again, not making them part of the traditional panel, which I like the fact they do that with the Wyatts.
Yes.
They shouldn't be just guests on the show. And it's the three of them at the desk. They say they want to change the world and bring the machine down. The Wyatts run the yard. The titles have made them immortal and stronger than ever, with Randy joining them. And Bray says it's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. Which I don't know if that's a takeoff of the old Freebirds line. Heaven don't want us and hell's afraid we're going to take over. It was a good line, I thought, here from Bray.
I thought so.
That's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And Orton then goes over all his nicknames, which there have been some awful ones.
He was the Legend Killer.
That was okay. Then he was the Apex Predator.
No.
The Viper.
He was also like the Blue Chipper initially? What was he?
He was the third generation star. That's what he was just identified as in 2002. Right. He was also the Prick, but that was off air during his early days.
So what is he now?
Yeah, he was. It was almost like he was leading up to a new nickname of his, but there was no nickname. I guess he's the other Wyatt.
Yeah. Randy.
Why Randy Wyatt?
Okay.
If Orton wins, we Wyatt.
Yeah, that'd be a great shirt. Why doesn't he grow out his beard? Shouldn't he have a full beard like the other Wyatts to at least
If he's really committed.
visually sell the look? I think he'd look cool.
Yeah, he should grow it out like Big Show.
Yeah.
Maybe Big Show's joining the Wyatts. Orton, he just says they're more dangerous than ever. And Harper wears the titles, tells them to send anyone, just not anyone you want back. With this out-of-focus shot that then comes into focus as he steps in front of the camera, in front of the desk.
Harper just carries the belts. It's not like a Freebird rule, right? With those guys?
They haven't explained that.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
Till it's convenient.
They could do that.
Yeah.
And then we start talking smack as it is because Renee and Brian walk in and say they got Wyatted.
Yeah. That's a new WWE Network program.
We got Wyatted.
You've just been Wyatted.
Is this like a new thing? Because last week the term was Seth Rollins did. And now on SmackDown they've been Wyatted. Almost sounds like audited.
Are you pollocking me?
No, I'm just not tinging. Brian tries to explain James Ellsworth as just being incompetent. They literally had the argument you and I had on Monday, where Brian was playing you, explaining that Ellsworth is not a heel, he's just being incompetent, and Renee thinks he has this false sense of security, and he is a heel.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. It's up for debate.
I like Brian's explanation here of why was there an IC title match tonight? And he said, well, we promoted a WWE title match and we couldn't deliver that. And therefore, I felt the need to make an IC title match.
That makes perfect sense.
That does. And I bet you Brian came up with that logic all on his own.
Yes.
And maybe in this moment when he was asked this question, which he probably didn't know was coming.
Do you think he'd be a good writer for pro wrestling? I mean, I
think it would drive him insane in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But at its core, I think there's a number of guys that would be tremendous creative people like Jericho, an Edge, certainly a Daniel Bryan, but I feel the structure of which the WWE has, they would last 2 weeks.
Why don't we see that transition anymore, from a wrestler to writer?
I don't think there's any desire with the current makeup of the team that you'd want to be one of 20 guys. But I think there would be...
I guess like Jimmy Jacobs. He's somebody up there.
Yep, and Jacobs has been praised for his work. He's been on that team. He was called up like around WrestleMania 31 time, so he's almost been up there 2 years on the main roster. Then we had, following that, Carmella comes on, explains that she gave us the whole scenario from Survivor Series because they had been in catering. Nikki left her baseball hat there and they went off. And Carmella saw that she left the hat there. And Natalya also saw the hat was left there. So Natalya knew that Nikki would have to go back and get her hat for the entrance, and that was her opening. So when Nikki went for the hat, Natalya attacked her, according to Carmella, who was spilling the tea, as she said.
That's her reasoning for naming Natalya as the culprit.
Yes.
Because she saw it, because of this hat. I guess
so maybe in the end, Carmella was the one that attacked her.
Well, or it could have been somebody else completely different.
It had to have been someone there on the team that was aware of the hat.
Maybe it was one of the brunette reporters.
Oh.
Because there's so many of them. How would you know who it was? So I guess that's a relatively major storyline point, isn't it? That why Carmella thinks Natalya.
This felt like a game of Clue. It was like it was Natalya in the kitchen with the hat. Now, was there a secret passage like where the lounge you can take the passageway and go diagonally across the arena? It happened at the Air Canada Centre, so. I don't know if there's any secret pathways there from the catering area.
Yeah, or from Union Station.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Renee then brings up the hole in AJ's pants, and Daniel Bryan cannot believe that Renee is focused on that as opposed to all of the great action they provided the springboard 450 through a table, Ambrose dropping an elbow off a ladder on an announce desk, and all Renee wants to talk about is the hole in AJ's pants.
Her and a lot of the internet blew up on the net.
The final guests were Heath Slater and Rhino, and they're very down about losing the tag titles. Slater says you win some, you lose some. This was a guy who watches athlete interviews.
Yeah.
And Rhino then says, well, I didn't know I'd be the only one out there tonight for the rematch. What a shot. And Slater is very taken aback by this comment. And Brian goes to intervene, and Rhino tells him to shut up. And they argue about who won the titles, who lost the titles, with Slater pointing out it was Rhino that technically lost the match on Sunday. And Rhino walks off. Slater is very distraught, and he ends up leaving, apologizing to Renee and Brian, and goes to talk with Rhino.
Breakup.
A breakup.
On Talking Smack.
Yes.
Wow. So they actually...
There was literally more storyline advancement on Talking Smack this week than SmackDown.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. They save a lot for Talking Smack. And it's a better space for them to explain storylines, I think.
I think there could be a bit better of a lead into it, because you don't want to just leave everything for like SmackDown. There was no hints of this. The announcers didn't tease anything.
Yeah.
I think there should be at least that should be brought up in a match to the mass audience, so It's not so jarring if you're not watching Talking Smack that next week these two are at odds.
Yeah.
I think the match should be able to tell a story that it's advanced on Talking Smack, whereas this week it just felt like you just watched the match and they lost, and there was no... Not saying that this was a giant disconnect, but I think on the main show, you should be progressing this stuff. That it leads you to Talking Smack a bit better. But there you go. Talking Smack was much better than SmackDown. But this is coming at the end of 3 hours. And now we are going to review 205 Live. Right off the top, Austin Aries, who is back this week with Corey Graves and Mauro Ranallo, he says he won't do too great a job this week, given Mauro's contract situation being up in the air and all.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Did you follow this?
No.
Okay. So on Sunday night, reporter Justin LaBar was writing on Twitter that he feels like Mauro's days are numbered. And then he went on to say that Mauro's contract is coming up, and they add another play-by-play man and make four-man team? As a question. Plus, he's good his way and not what WWE loves. And then he was going on to say that he enjoys Mauro but could see him getting replaced. So Mauro responded to him.
Oh, man.
Shutting this down, telling him not to spread BS about his career, and stating that he has years left on his deal. So Mauro seemed very annoyed by this. And Aries saw the opening to bring it up on the broadcast.
Oh, I see.
So that was the explanation behind that. Then we had Alicia Fox wishing Cedric Alexander good luck backstage, and we'll be watching, quote, his every move, as Alicia gave him a kiss on the cheek. And this is going to get really tricky because they had to obviously tape this on Monday for Tuesday's show because Alicia is not at SmackDown.
Oh, she's not? You don't think she would have just been at the tapings just for this?
Well, unfortunately, like for TJ Perkins, he literally had to come to these tapings tonight to do commentary.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was involved in an angle.
That's,
Alicia, yeah, I could not imagine them bringing her just to tape this when you could do it the night before.
I suppose.
Like, why would you bring her there? It's a backstage segment. If you
But
want,
I don't think being there is that big of a deal. As big of a deal as you might think.
If this was her involvement, a backstage segment?
Yeah. Dude, there are probably lots of talent who aren't even on the show that do the travel.
Well, I'm just saying that if you know Alicia Fox is not going to be used on SmackDown.
Right.
And it's one thing if she becomes the valet for Cedric. It needs to be out there.
They could have pre-taped this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, she didn't come out with Cedric.
Yeah, true.
And then Graves can confirm they are now dating.
Yeah.
So they got through the Bailey Bears incident.
Yeah. I think this is, obviously all probably to set up some type of swerve or some type of crazy ex-girlfriend deal, which I think Alicia is perfectly suited for. She seems like the worst type of crazy ex-girlfriend.
She said, here, I'll be watching your every move.
Yeah, like a stalker, you know? Like a girl who's hot, but like once you start dating her, you realize you made a big mistake, and I guess we'll see how this plays out. I mean, coming out of this is one of the most interesting things about this cruiserweight division.
Cedric and Alicia?
I hate to say it. Yeah. Do you disagree? What other storylines are there?
I'm not saying there's really any compelling storylines. I'm not really arguing for any others. I just don't know if I'm endorsing this one. Noam Dar and Cedric were first. And Aries, what did you think of Aries on this show, week 1 to week 2?
He was way more neutral this week. I mean, I would assume that, he was given a lot of notes after last week. He played a way more neutral of a character. Still a heel, but I think instead of like healing on everybody, he focused a lot more on the technical aspects of the matches, which he was excellent at. I
thought it was better this week.
Yeah, yes. I thought he was way better this week.
I kind of he started talking in this match. He said, I tried to speak with Noam Dar earlier today, and he says it in such a serious way. He's like, but I couldn't understand a word coming out of his mouth. He's got a mouth full of marbles. And I mean, last week with the Bollywood Boys and this week with Noam Dar, I kind of like this pseudo offensive just way that he talks about foreigners.
Yeah.
I think it kind of suits him.
Yeah, sure. It's old school.
He's just like, I don't understand this guy's accent. And what was the line last week?
Herp and derp. Which one's herp and derp?
I mean, it's designed like this guy is like a
racist,
pseudo bigot.
No. I mean, Bobby Heenan, Jesse.
I thought he was much better playing off of these. And they're in a very tough role because I feel there's a lot of similarities between Aries and Graves. They're witty heels.
But Graves is definitely scaling it back. He's more of the...
Yeah, I think it's Graves that's had to adjust his style to accommodate Aries. It's very difficult for those two. I think Morrow could work off them fine. Mm-hmm. He's got his role. But these two are essentially playing the exact same role.
Sure.
As the heel analyst. Dar has a grip on the left arm and won't release it. Alexander eventually escapes, hits a head scissors, sends Dar to the floor. Dar then ducks to avoid a dive and instead takes a wrecking ball drop kick. And Aries is surprised that Cedric is with Fox because all of Cedric's ex-girlfriends look like the Rosati sisters, which were these heavy-set women that used to be utilized in the 80s, like with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, and they use in segments. You can look them up.
Okay.
Dar hit this great-looking European uppercut with the left arm, and then he continues working Cedric's arm. Alexander fights back using his right arm while selling the left, hit a springboard crossbody for a 2 after a discus elbow, and then there's a handspring, and Dar kicks the bad arm as he goes for the handspring and into a Fujiwara armbar on the bad arm. He pounds down on the arm, reapplies the hold. Alexander counters it into a roll-up, and then Dar sends him into the ring post in the corner, follows with a running kick, and pins Alexander at 10 minutes and 13 seconds. I liked the focus on the arm throughout this. I really thought the Fujiwara armbar, that should have been the finish. He had done all this damage against the arm, and then it's this kick that wins it for him.
Yeah. I guess they're trying to get over his finish, which I guess is this kick.
It seems everyone just has these very similar finishes.
I don't...
Running kicks.
I don't know what they're trying to really tell here with Cedric. Like, are they trying to show that he's been distracted because of Alicia?
That's what they were trying to play up, that Cedric...
But he hasn't been winning. Like, he wasn't really winning beforehand, so it's not like you can show a big shift, Like, and Alicia really didn't get involved at all. So,
They also only started dating within a 24-hour time period because they weren't dating on Raw.
Well, they were probably flirting,
That has such an impact on your performance.
Anyway, I thought the match was great. I thought both guys did really well. I think this was a match that really would have gotten over, certainly at a Full Sail in any indie venue. But here, oh man, all I could notice throughout the entire hour was this woman in the front row, just on her phone. The entire hour. She was sitting next to her friend who was on her phone for most of it too. And this woman just couldn't be bothered to look up, and I don't even know why she was there.
Maybe she was doing a live report.
Who did they say for the dark match?
I'm not sure.
It must have been a pretty good dark match to keep her here for this entire hour.
Maybe she wanted to see this rematch for the Cruiserweight title.
Dude, I even took a photo. And, like, this girl, like, just...
Oh, I do remember her.
The entire fucking time, her and her friend just, like, they couldn't have been more bored. So, maybe it was just me, but really, it was sad to watch.
One other thing to note, on the pre-show, we mentioned the changes they made on the Raw pre-show. SmackDown, they've made similar changes. It's now hosted by Renee and Booker. And on this week's pre-show, they used the vaudevillains as puppets. Like actual physical puppets with their voices. So again,
You mean they used the vaudevillains use puppets?
You couldn't see the vaudevillains. It was just these puppets that were set up against these,
Yeah, so the vaudevillains spoke using puppets?
Yes.
Okay.
They were interviewed.
So that's their gimmick now.
Yeah, so Jerry Lawler and Lita have been taken off of the pre-shows, and...
Great.
Yeah. Now, Jim Ross has also stated that Lita is no longer with the company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not even doing the agent thing that she was.
Yeah, this is just according to Jim Ross.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Lawler appears to be, he's still under a Legends deal with the company and has an affiliation. But yeah, it looks like Lita is done with WWE. We continue on, and then we had Dar interviewed in the ring afterwards, and Dar said he was like bragging about his bad money contract he's just signed with the WWE.
Big money contract.
I think that's what he meant, but I listened to this twice, and it came out like he said bad money contract.
It's just his accent, I guess.
Well, and Austin Aries might have...
Bad money contract.
And he dedicates this victory to one special lady in the back, Cedric Alexander's girlfriend, Alicia Fox.
There you go.
I kind of like Noam Dar here.
I thought he was great. I was impressed by him in ring. I thought his arm work was fantastic. I liked his promo too. I think they probably should have started with a promo. I wonder if that would have made any difference. But I feel like these guys need to get their personalities across. They need to create some identities with these fans that these fans could care about. As it stood, it was just two bodies wrestling after you had already seen Dean Ambrose and The Miz in a SmackDown main event. So, in ring, on the mic, I think these guys are all impressive, but I think the placement of them on the show just makes them look like total losers.
We had a feature on Mustafa Ali from Pakistan, who's offended that he comes out and he's booed by this crowd before he's even said a word. He's automatically judged.
Oh, it's true.
And says he is the best. He can do strong style. He can do lucha. He can wrestle technically with anyone. And he is here to outdo every person in this division and refers to himself as King Ali.
I thought he sounded really good. I thought he showed some personality here in this interview.
Yeah, this guy's been given nothing, including the Cruiserweight Classic. Yep. This is not someone that you can even contrast to that as someone that you knew anything about.
Yeah. But, like them, like him and the Bollywood boys, they seem to be making an effort to push everybody on this show, which, you can argue might not be the best way to get
especially at a time when you can argue, I mean, how many people are really over in this division? Maybe Rich Swann?
So, maybe Rich Swann. I don't know. But it seems like they're putting some focus on everybody, which I think is ultimately good. But as you'll see with the Jack Gallagher match, it's essentially a case of 50-50 booking across the entire board.
Rich Swann is in the back, and TJ Perkins walks in wishing him luck and says to Rich that he's been very lucky lately and says, I was cooking before that kick on Raw last night. Swann says it's better to be lucky than good, and TJ walks off.
I thought Swann he comes across as a guy who's immediately likable. He's got a real presence that's like fun and cocky that really stands out. Perkins, he's definitely trying, but personality is not something that seems to come as natural for him. So I wonder. I got glimpses of a potential heel turn out of this particular segment. I wonder if that's something that would help him, get that personality out.
Arya Daivari took on Jack Gallagher in a 25% rematch.
This was the third thing in a row.
Oh, and we're definitely getting a fourth, if not way more. Gallagher's left knee is taped up from the angle on Raw where it was kicked out after the match with Daivari.
And Aries points out that Gallagher didn't jump over the top rope like he usually does to get into the ring, which I thought was really good.
Yeah. Gallagher ends up driving the knees of Daivari into the mat and then does his headstand in the corner, kicking Daivari away. And Daivari goes after the knee, wraps it around the post, removes the protective tape, and Daivari then torques on the injured knee in the middle of the ring. Gallagher then catches him with a crucifix for a 2 count, hit this awesome-looking headbutt. I mean, it looked like...
It's one of his big moves now.
Yeah, it was to the chest. It looked safe, but looks great. And got a 2 count from that. Daivari then lands a rolling elbow, kicks the bad knee, and then hits a splash off the top, winning the match at 6:14. So considerably longer match than they had on Raw. And I'm sure they will face one another next week, maybe twice.
Another Gallagher-Daivari match.
Bit of a rematch coming up.
It's not necessarily a match I really care to see. I mean, I enjoyed the fact that this was a different match, working a lot on Gallagher's leg. And I think Daivari showed excellent aggression, great work on the leg. Again, nothing bad to say in ring about these two, about anybody here. I think they've all been great. But I feel like Gallagher is somebody who kind of needs to have that upwards momentum right away. And I think to have him lose right now and to put him in what seems to be a 50-50 feud with Daivari kind of just makes both of them, another. He's another guy. He's just another member of the Cruiserweight roster.
Lince Dorado is coming soon. And then TJ Perkins comes out to join the commentary team for the main event. Tom Phillips interviews Brian Kendrick backstage and is asked if Swan has his number and says tonight will be different. His head was in many places last week. He had a lot of stress from the media appearances and he did not have time to train, and says he is dedicating this win to himself tonight, unlike Rich Swann, who dedicated it to his mother last week. So that is our rematch for 205 Live. Swan and Kendrick, they fought onto the floor at the beginning, and Swan gets run back first into the barricade, and Kendrick uses the barricade to hit sliced bread onto the floor and then grabs his right knee after hitting it and returns Swan to the ring. He applies captain's hook, but Swan gets to the rope. Aries is constantly breaking TJ's balls here on commentary. He criticizes him being friends with both of these guys, basically getting duped by Kendrick to lose the title. If they were building to a match, I would have said they did a pretty effective job here because, this was almost too one-sided in that Aries was just going circles around this guy, down to the point that I think it was Graves who asked them, who would you get this automatic rematch for the title? Who would you rather face? And he dodges the question, and Graves says, no, seriously, though, who are you going to pick? And he again dodges it. And it was just...
It was really interesting hearing TJ on commentary here because, we've seen, when you're put in these commentary spots, you're essentially kind of told to, improvise largely and play off of, what the commentators ask you. And clearly Perkins, that's... seems like a weak spot for him. It's a problem because he naturally has a bit of a childlike voice. And unfortunately, in an environment where you're up against competing for mic time against Austin Aries, against Corey Graves, and against Morrow, who are three very loud voices, you just can't help but kind of seem like you're uncomfortable. And he definitely floundered a little. And it was almost tough to hear because you could tell his confidence kind of decrease and diminish as the match went on. He just flat out didn't really talk towards the end of the match. He just had nothing really to say. And something like that with Graves asking him, hey, who do you want to face? TJ didn't even have a comeback for that. It just seemed like he was maybe too in his head. So that's why I also feel like perhaps a heel turn would really help this guy because clearly they have, they see something in him, but this is a major aspect of being a WWE star that, he has yet to deliver on.
Yeah, and, I find we go through a lot of different guys where it's just this idea that a heel turn would really give them a better direction. And it's like there's some guys that you do have to be able to be a competent babyface. And that was what TJ's role was here. And you've got to get comfortable in these situations. But also, it shouldn't be a case of you're competing with Corey Graves and Austin Aries. Like, you guys are all trying to work together here.
That's what they do, though. That's Vince. That's what Vince wants is for the guys to actually go out there and compete with each other.
Well, I was listening to this interview Daniel Bryan just did with Sam Roberts, and Bryan was talking about talking smack. How one of the things he needs to do better, he feels, is let the talent talk for themselves. It's like we are there to set things up, but we have to let go and let them answer and come up with their own, specific reasoning for certain things, and it's kind of stepping back and allowing them that freedom and not to kind of be overbearing with it as well. So,
yet another reason why Daniel Bryan should maybe be more in charge of all this stuff.
So the match continues. Kendrick gets sent to the floor, and there's a corkscrew splash off the turnbuckle by Swann to Kendrick. He followed in the ring with a Tiger Bomb, getting a 2 count, then a spinning Michinoku driver. A Tiger Bomb gets countered with a Hurricane Rana by Kendrick. Both are down, and this was when the crowd started to get into this, which was the first time I felt on this show they were into anything.
Not enough for the woman on her phone to get off her phone, though.
Yeah, she was busy.
I couldn't believe, this. What was she? What I need to know what the dark match was, because
maybe she's listening on her phone with headphones. Swann blocks the captain's hook attempt, then rolls him over, applies it. He's in the middle, applying it to Swann, eventually gets the rope break. Swann is foaming at the mouth here from the choke. And then Swann stops the sliced bread on the edge of the apron, sends Kendrick into the post, but then Swann is run into the post as he goes down onto the floor, lifts him up. Swann escapes and throws Kendrick into TJ Perkins at ringside, and Kendrick is all upset here. He goes, after arguing with Perkins, he returns to the ring right into Swann's spinning wheel kick, and Swann gets the win at 12:23. After the match, Kendrick jumps Perkins on the floor, believing he cost him the championship, and he stomps on Perkins. Rich Swann returns. He attacks Kendrick, and then Perkins goes to super kick Kendrick, who gets out of the way, and it ends up with Perkins super kicking Rich Swann. So it looks like some kind of three-way program here, and definitely teasing something with Perkins and Swann having an issue at some point.
Yeah. The match I really want to see now after this, though, is Perkins versus Aries, who I think Aries, couldn't come back soon enough for this division. I think this roster really needs somebody with his personality level and ability to make you hate him and want to see somebody kick his ass. So he can't get healthy soon enough. I thought the match was great. I thought Kendrick was awesome here. Great use of the ring as a weapon, as he's been doing. And the guy just goes out there and wrestles really hard, like it's his last time in the main event every single time. So I really enjoyed him. I liked him and Swann. Did Graves call? Did he call the kick the Swan song?
Yes, at the end.
I like that name. It plays off of sweet chin music as well. So I enjoyed it. I liked the matches on this show. I thought there was great wrestling on this show, and I urge you, if you question that, to watch these matches without the sound. Okay, just watch it.
I did.
You turn the sound off the entire time?
No, my sound was on, but it was a...
No, watch this show without paying attention to the crowd, and you will probably have a different experience. Okay.
No, I did enjoy the Dar Alexander match. I thought it was a good match, and I thought the main event, I didn't think it was at the level of last week's, but they did a lot in this match.
These were great matches. I just try to put these same matches into a Full Sail or into some type of indie venue, and I feel like they'd all get over so much more. But on a Raw crowd, a SmackDown crowd, at the time that these guys are put at to do these matches, I felt tired watching it. I'm sure the crowd felt tired. I don't even blame the woman being on her phone the entire time.
You do.
I do. But it's a tiring experience. So
there has to be a reason for these shows, and if the biggest hook is that I'm going to get an hour of very good wrestling, like that to me is kind of an expectation that's met by most shows I watch every single week, whether it's Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, Raw, SmackDown.
Okay.
Every single one of those is going to have pretty good wrestling by and large. So that can't just be the only reason for this show.
It'd be like following a UFC pay-per-view with an episode of Bellator. You know, how many UFC fans do you think would stick around for that?
Right.
A roster of a bunch of guys they don't know. You know, wrestling in probably what are very good matches, but if you don't know the people and don't care about the outcomes, then what's the point?
Yeah.
And I'm even talking about hardcores at this point now who are losing interest in the cruiserweights and don't care because there are no stakes involved here. The good wrestling itself is not enough to even hook your supposed hardcore audience.
Yeah, I find already, like this show and NXT, they're such different shows. And it's not the style, it's not to me just, you know, what kind of style they're working. It comes down to stars on shows, shows that have a necessity to them. And thus far, I mean, I can't say you have to watch this show every week in order to be following everything.
No.
I think this is a show that, to me, my best comparison so far is it feels like ECW on Sci-Fi, where it was just very similar. They would tape them on Tuesdays as well, sometimes before, sometimes after, and it was just the crowds are not into these matches, and they're just it hurts the matches overall. Like, you take those first and last matches on Tuesday night show, put them in front of a hot crowd, I'm sure you'd have a different
It'd be
takeaway.
completely different. Completely different. But yeah, I don't think I'll be watching this next week, and that's not to slight any of the performers. I actually would really love to continue to study the progression of these cruiserweights because I find it fascinating. But as a 3.5 hour block every single week, coming off of a 3-hour Monday, coming off of a TLC pay-per-view, and then on top of that, one of the worst Nitros I've ever seen in my life for the Review-A-Wai that we're going to do on Friday, it's just too much. It's just not an enjoyable...
You didn't like Nitro? Okay, we'll chat about it.
It's just an experience that's just not enjoyable. It's just not fun. And so, you know, I'll continue doing SmackDown. I'll even do Talking Smack, but I think the 205 show, we'll have to see who's up for the challenge.
In your world, it's 205 dead. Let's go to the feedback quickly. Mark from Vaughan writes, tonight was the definition of uneventful. Bad time slot aside, 205 Live's booking is puzzling. They're still using the style we see all week while Medalik and Tozawa sit on the sidelines. Question, do you think the Cruiserweight should be moved to Full Sail with NXT? Tapings would then culminate at TakeOver. Triple H's CWC vision just doesn't seem feasible on the main roster on Vince's watch. Well, it becomes difficult because when you tape television for NXT, you're either creating a second night to do all of the 205 Live tapings, or you're like they tape 4 episodes at Full Sail when they do NXT tapings. So doing these 205 Live tapings on top of that, that's just not possible either. So, and you have a lot of this roster that's already on the road that it's much easier to do it at SmackDown. Though that venue would be much better, I feel, at Full Sail to get these guys across.
The quality of the shows would be way better. But it seems like the decision behind the cruiserweights has largely been driven by, monetary or just reasons to create more content in the most, most cost-effective way. You know, less so about quality and more about...
I think it's fair to say, since the Cruiserweights were called up to Raw, no one was saying, well, the reason they haven't gotten over is because they don't have their own show. You have the time. And to me, it's a larger question of why this talent is not over to the degree that maybe you anticipated, and talent you did see get over under your own eyes in the summer. So to me, it's if you're just taking the same basic principles of how they were utilized on Raw and now putting them in a separate hour, that to me is not changing the core issues that have just not connected with a larger audience.
I think the idea was probably these guys don't get enough time on Raw to have lengthy matches like they had, on the CWC. And on 205 Live, they do have longer matches, better matches, certainly, than they do have on Raw. But
what's stopping them though on Raw from having 2 cruiserweight matches that get
they're like
8 to 10 minutes? You have that time.
They don't want to put them on for that long, I suppose.
Well, that's a problem then.
Yeah, but because they're not over, that's why they don't. I don't know. Don't ask me. It's a fascinating but a bit of a complex issue. But would I love to see them take place at Full Sail? Yes, I wish. But yeah. Okay, we got a Rob who says, I just watched 205 Live again this week. I can't believe how dead the crowds have been for the past 2 weeks. I was expecting it to be a struggle, but even I am surprised at how little crowd reaction these shows are getting. I say the live aspect lasts until the end of the year at most. Alexander losing, one of the few guys who actually gets a reaction, I should say, is mind-boggling, but it's the universe, so I'm not at all surprised. Jack Gallagher is my wife's favorite wrestler, which brings the total of wrestlers she knows to a grand total of 1. 2 shows in and no Akira Tozawa, one of the most charismatic wrestlers in the world, and he hasn't been used once. Austin Aries has done an excellent job on commentary. He reminds me of CM Punk in that I wish he would be a full-time announcer, but he's too valuable in-ring to make the transition to the booth.
Andy from New Zealand, solid show from SmackDown. Hopefully the ankle injury to AJ is not a serious one and he's only out for a short while. The Ellsworth stuff has gotten past its used-by date, and I had been hoping when Ambrose took him out at the start of the show that would be all for tonight, but I was wrong. The Bray Orton team looks strong, and I'm intrigued to see how they go about the rest of the tag division against the rest of the tag division. While I've never been a fan of The Miz, I'll say his in-ring work has gotten better, though curious to see who the lineup to chase him for the IC title. Question, if Natalya wasn't the one who attacked Nikki at Survivor Series, who do you think it should be? Someone already on the roster, or possibly Mickie James if she returns and is placed on SmackDown? Overall, solid, if not spectacular, SmackDown. 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, we got a Chris in Melbourne who says, it's only the second week of 205 Live, and sadly, this feels more like Raw Light than CWC 2.0. Now that WWE doesn't tape anything before SmackDown Live, should 205 Live go live before SmackDown?
Well, then it wouldn't be live.
7 to 8.
Oh, you mean move the show?
Yeah.
To that's kind of interesting. That's not the worst idea that I haven't really heard floated out there. The idea of doing it live on the network as a lead-in to SmackDown. It could still be live if they're so desperate to have a live show. Mm-hmm. And then you could have Talking Smack at 10 o'clock, which I think would be better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Your issue would be, for your West Coast shows, you're talking about going live at 4 in the afternoon, and how early are people realistically going to get there? So what's worse, a dead crowd after SmackDown or an arena that's at least half empty at that time? You're going to run into issues either way. You're asking people there to come for 3+ hours to an arena event. Mm-hmm. All right. Brett from Vancouver. Pretty weak edition of SmackDown. Really nothing of note. So Nikki suddenly believes Carmella. I don't get it. But then 20 minutes later, she's happy-go-lucky with some British kid I've never seen before in my life. I really enjoyed the Miz TV segment with the participation award. I don't get what's being done with Kalisto. I don't like Baron Corbin, but I'm fine with his push. What I don't get is after a pretty final beating in the chairs match, we have to get a rematch where Baron just kills this guy again. The main event was nothing to write home about. I think those two could have a good match, and this was fine. Best segment of the show was probably the opening of Talking Smack with the Wyatts. Is the AJ injury a shoot? Yes, he has a minor ankle injury, but it doesn't seem that it's anything too serious.
We go to Mr. White, who wants to know, with Cena putting in such a minimal schedule, what are the odds of a Cena heel turn?
I don't like that idea. I mean, you're so starving for baby faces at this point. Why would you want to turn Cena?
He suggests to win a match versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I don't think you need to turn him heel for that.
I mean, if they announce John Cena and The Undertaker tomorrow for WrestleMania, what do you think the reaction would be for Cena at WrestleMania anyway?
Yeah.
It would still be... You'd get the exact same response that you'd be desiring out of this heel turn. So I don't think there's any need for it. Let's do another here. Randy from Melbourne. What are your thoughts on the secondary titles becoming consolation prizes, with Reigns holding the U.S. title and Ambrose competing for the IC title, both after losing their feuds for the main title? Doesn't this go against the notion that these titles are to push guys on the way up?
What's he saying?
I think in the case of Reigns, it's you're putting the U.S. title on someone that is a real pushed guy, as opposed to someone that is just...
But he doesn't need the belt. You forget that he even has the belt most of the time.
It's not heavily emphasized, but and then the IC title, I really didn't have an issue with Ambrose having the shot there on Tuesday. I think those secondary titles have been in much worse shape than they are at present over the last 15 years.
Yeah, in an ideal world, I would have them separate from the main event scene and, have guys not go back down after winning a world title. I suppose now, because they're so thin on talent, they inevitably have to mix and match guys like the way they do. Okay, we go to let's go to James. I thought SmackDown was pretty good. I thought Dean and Miz did a great job at the end. If Dean is continuing the feud with Miz, who is AJ going to pair with now?
Well, I mean, you never want to see a guy get an injury, even if it's something tiny like the ankle at the moment. But this is really the best time of the year if you've got any injuries to heal up. I mean, you have a long time until the Rumble. You don't need to get into anything serious here in December. So AJ can kind of just coast with this Ellsworth thing, I think, for a few weeks. I'm glad they prolonged that. It can keep him busy now until you do have a solid direction for him at the Royal Rumble, whatever it's going to be, whether it's Cena's return, whatever you do. So I think the timing is actually pretty good. You don't need to race AJ into another program at the moment. Ellsworth can be his holdover for now, and I would hold that off for a few weeks. Do it at a time when it's convenient. I don't think you even have to get rid of it next week because there isn't a whole lot else for AJ at the moment. All right, we're going to finish things off now because it is late, we're tired, and we're done. So we are going to be back later on this week. We've got What's Next coming out on Thursday with Jason Agnew and Braden Herrington. As well, the MMA report will be out probably late Thursday night with a lot of interviews with the fighters involved in UFC 206. So that is coming your way. And then Friday, Wai and I are back with Review-A-Wai, which if this review doesn't kill Wai, Fridays might. We are going to review the July 5th, 1999 edition of Monday Nitro from the Georgia Dome featuring Kevin Nash versus Sid Vicious for the WCW Championship. Plus, David Flair defends the United States title against Buff Bagwell. Van Hammer in action against Vampiro. No, it was Van Hammer against Lodi. Rick Steiner took on Vampiro.
Yeah.
So, Wai, you get some sleep. You get some rest because I want a alive and thriving Wai Ting on Friday morning.
Yeah, you will not get that. This show is terrible. This is one of the worst shows.
Nitro.
Yeah.
Well, that's something to look forward to on Friday. You can check that out, liveaudiowrestling.com. Subscribe on iTunes, and you can also go to youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling. We have video versions of Review-A-Raw, Review a SmackDown, many different interviews up there as well.
Not Review a SmackDown.
Review-A-Raw.
Yeah.
Where you can see us.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yep, that's it.
All right. That's all for us, folks. We're done, and we will chat with you on Friday with Nitro.